Athletes, this is for you. Let's talk about nutrition for athletes, especially around important game days, tournaments, things of that nature. So we'll start out of order. Let's start with breakfast. Now, breakfast can be a very difficult one because you're coming in town, let's say late, you're sleeping late, your sleep's not great, you're rushed, you're out the door. But the nice thing is that breakfast is one of the things that you can control to a degree, right? It's that first meal of the day. You can usually plan you know when your tournament starts, you can go from there. So what would be a good idea for breakfast? Well, first of all, let's talk about what's not. Bananas. Bananas are not my favorite for this reason. You want to think about your brain, not just your stomach. Bananas are very much good at bringing serotonin or calming the brain down, but instead you want something like berries, right? Berries are going to, especially blueberries, they're going to upregulate dopamine, keep you sharp, focused, and really on task. So preferably, if you had nothing else that you could do, you would run it out of the house, grab berries. That would be my go-to for you. Grab berries, you're good to go, and then snacks would, kind of take care of it. But if you do have some time, if you're able to prepare a little bit, a perfect breakfast, and let's say this is 2-3 hours before you're actually playing on the field, all right? Now, you'll want a good amount of protein still, a good amount of carbs, right? This is different than weight loss. You need the energy. So I have here gluten-free. I still like to go gluten-free personally for my athletes. Good amount of carbs here, gluten-free waffles, and then still, again, berries. Obviously, you could add some bacon. You could add some, sausage. It's not too fatty, something like that. Some meat, a little bit of steak. Sure, why not? Again, if you have more time. If now, let's say you were an hour out from game time, well, then I would just say, hey, let's put the eggs aside for now, the protein aside. Let's go more with berries and carbs, because you're going to need the energy. It's going to be nice, easy digestion. And then speaking of digestion, you want to just to keep in mind how you feel. You know yourself, you've been to games, you've played before. So just because I'm saying this doesn't mean you just throw away everything that you've experienced inside your own body, right? You want to listen to that, listen to your experience, and you'll know, hey, I digesting super fast, I digesting slow. You've known because your workouts, you're like, hey, if I'm working out fasted or not anything in my stomach, I lag, I have nothing. Or you're like, no, I'd rather almost go into it empty, and during halftime or something, then I'll eat a snack. So there's some ideas on breakfast. Now, as far as snacks, this is very important, because if you had to decide sleep or breakfast, choose sleep. Sleep is going to be more important, especially just for everything. You're traveling, there's all these different things. You get in late, right? Go for sleep instead, if you had to choose. Obviously, do both in the perfect world, right? But speaking of snacks, okay, so again, berries are amazing. You put them in a little bag in your cooler. You can always have them. They digest quick, easy, constant energy. I love them. But what I like to pair is, so I have some, especially macadamia nuts. They're my favorite nut. Macadamia nut and blueberries, especially for this situation, I should say. And then almonds, pistachios, also good. I would stay away from peanuts and other nuts, cashews. They're a little too fatty, a little too oily, not in this arena. So you're kind of like, the normal trail mix that you just get, like Planters trail mix. I'd kind of stay away from that. And again, we don't want a ton of fat and protein for snacks if it's a short window of time. But usually that nut and berries works really well. Also, another option that we have along kind of the same lines, another pairing here is I like jerky. So if you do have a little bit of time, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe you digest things well, you need a little something in your stomach to kind of hold you down. I like beef jerky, and bison jerky is my favorite actually. Bison jerky, grass-fed beef, again, not a lot of additives, and then dried fruit, especially dried mango. I don't have the sliced dried mango here. These are frozen, but I like the sliced dried mangoes. So number one, I would say macadamia nuts, blueberries. Number two, I would say some jerky and some mango. But again, cranberries, raisins as well. Go easy on the dates. Don't do a ton of those, but add them in. Apricots, they're also really good. So those are some great snacks. Obviously, you have other things. You have rice cakes and honey. You have, right, whatever you like as well. That's fine. Not saying don't have peanut butter and jelly or something like that, right? Just timing wise, obviously is going to affect all that. But now let's talk about something very important that happens throughout the tournament, throughout the game, really makes a big difference is hydration. So hydration really, it can, make the difference between the big plays or cramping up. And we talk about hydration, obviously there's the water amount there. And just to kind of explain that a little bit, okay? So how do you know if you are hydrated properly? So if this is your urine, that is Mayday. Go take care of that, drink some water. Now, what if you're like, hey, I've been drinking gallons and gallons of water, my urine is crystal clear. Well, that's not great either. And if you ever dealt with, you're drinking tons of liquids and you're still kind of parched, well, that might mean that you need electrolytes. So what are the electrolytes? Well, you have sodium is the most important, potassium and magnesium. So really sodium is the one we care about the most. Magnesium, obviously, we're going to supplement with in our regimen. After game, we're going to make sure that we always have good levels of that. Potassium we can control a little bit too, but I'm going to focus on sodium right now. Sodium is super important because that's salt, and we're not talking about table salt. We are talking about Celtic salt, red salt, Redmond salt, crystal salt. Think salt that you need a grinder for, right? That type of salt. That draws the water and actually draws it into the tissue, hydrates the actual tissue. So that's why the Goldilocks amount of color in your urine is here, almost like lemonade. So a little bit of yellow, this is your perfect. Not this, definitely not that, right here, okay? So let that urine decide and help you figure out, along with your own feelings of thirst, gives you a good, clear indicator of kind of, your instinct. Now you have some visual facts to go along with it. Now, here's a very simple recipe if you do need electrolytes that you can make at home. Okay, obviously there's supplements for this, LMNT, there's some others that, obviously DM me and I'll share all that with you, but you don't have the finances, you're in a pinch. This is something very easy you could make at home. So you're going to take your water bottle, right? You're going to take good 4 to 6 pinches of that salt that I mentioned, a good, grinding salt. And so that's going to be about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon roughly. And then you're going to take a lemon and also maybe a splash of coconut water or cream of tartar, and I'll explain that in a second. And then a tablespoon or 2, maybe you like a sweet tooth, of honey. So you mix all those together, and that is going to be way better than Gatorade, a great electrolyte homemade drink. Now, we talked about the sodium is the most important, right? But potassium you can control a little bit. Cream of tartar, you can find this in any grocery store in the spice aisle. This will give you the potassium. So again, a little bit of that as well. And the magnesium, of course, hey, if you had some calm, if you had some capsules, you could pour it in there, but I'm not going to get into that as much, because that sodium is really the most important, getting that water into the tissue and helping you deal with cramping and things of that nature. Okay, so let's talk about the Last Supper. All right, let's talk about maybe some things we can do before, the night before, let's say a game day or tournament day. Now, the night before, you want to definitely have your protein, and you want to have good carbs. You want to have a nice plate. Now, your plate is going to be similar to this breakfast plate in general, right? You're still going to have maybe a quarter of your plate as protein, but then half of it as carbs. But here's the thing, you're going to have obviously a lot of grains, but also your colored vegetables. So, again, eat a lot of colors. So maybe that's going to be a steak or a salmon or a chicken. And then now for the vegetables, here's something you want to think about. You maybe don't want a lot of salad. You want some cooked vegetables that are going to digest quickly. They're not going to stay in your stomach overnight. Sometimes, the lettuces, the leafy greens, that may not be what you want. Instead, you want, think like peas, cooked carrots, squash, zucchini. I love those. That's a great thing. And then carbs, rice, potatoes. I like gluten-free pasta, right? Things of that nature. So that is going to be a well-rounded meal for the purpose of what you're going to do the next day. So again, higher on the carbs, half carbs, cooked vegetables, quarter meat on that plate. That will set you up good. And you want to do that meal about 2-3 hours before you're going to go to sleep. That's going to give you plenty of time. Going to have a nice, clean, empty gut in the morning. You're not going to be, working on digesting that during the night as much, and your next day is just going to be better. So those are some nice tips. Kind of gets you prepared for that game day scenario with hydration, with breakfast, with snacks, and the Last Supper before. So hope you enjoy that and go out there, win. If you need any help,